Karana here again from the Ngāti Pāo Iwi Trust. I'm just making this short video about the Hauraki Forestry issue that we identified. So Ngāti Pāo is part of the Hauraki settlement, as you're probably all aware. And under that settlement, one of the main components of commercial redress that we get is a share of the Crown Forest lands and ongoing Crown Forestry rentals. So if I just bring up part of the deed, so this is part of the actual Hauraki collective deed. So under clause 14.16 in the main redress deed, you'll see that each of the 12 iwi have a specific percentage of land that they're entitled to, of the total forests that are available under that settlement, and a certain value of that land that's ascribed to them. So for Ngāti Pāo, we're entitled to 16% ownership of the forest. So there's a number of forests in that package, all across the Hauraki area. So when we were working our way through this settlement, similar to the Marituahu settlement, we realised that there was again similar commercial structures, so limited partnerships. So once we realised there was an issue with the Marituahu settlement, we asked the Crown to look at this settlement and particularly get an independent review again to help us get some comfort that the settlement was structured appropriately. So the Crown got our good friends at Buttle Finlay to do a independent report again. Now they did a first draft late last year, and it was relatively, I guess the word is clean. However, we always had the opportunity to put questions back to the lawyers to ask them to dig a little bit further and make sure that we were comfortable. Now, many of you might remember that back in October 2018, Morehu Wilson, our previous negotiator, called a hui to ask the iwi if they wanted him to look into this matter before he signed the Hauraki settlement, and they agreed. So the report was commissioned. It was actually led by some of the other iwi of the Hauraki collective. So in this particular situation, you'll see that the lead on this was Nikki Scott, a negotiator for Ngāti Rahiri Tumitumi, and I assisted her with that review. Now, why I want to point out that there was a draft issued was because when Morehu moved to sign the Hauraki collective settlement in early 2019, I urged him to wait because we hadn't had the final report back yet. And I had advised him that, look, we've put a whole lot of questions back to the lawyers that need to be answered satisfactorily. And they hadn't done that yet. But he proceeded to sign. And this is actually the final version that didn't come out till some months later. So one of the things that I raised with him, one of the key issues I raised with him, was that it appeared that the forestry rentals going into that partnership, again, limited partners, meaning that we had very little control over that entity. And in particular, you couldn't ask for your rentals each year. It was actually a general partner that set those. You weren't able to exit because you'd have to require unanimous assent from all the other partners. So if Ngāti Pāo decided on its own terms that it wanted to leave, you couldn't, and it wasn't able to ensure that you could actually access your surplus rentals. So basically, once your forestry assets went into this vehicle, they were pretty much locked up unless everyone else agreed to let you out. Now, this was a concern for the other iwi, and I understand it's one of the main reasons why some of them still haven't signed to this moment. So just to emphasize this fact, these were some of the key questions I put back to the lawyers. They have a very limited scope, or they're given a very limited scope from the Crown, but they were still able to answer my questions, albeit in a very sort of yes-no fashion. So just quickly, I'll post this report up online so you can read it for yourself. But what I want to draw your attention to quickly is right at the bottom. These things are never short. You'll see in this paragraph 19, and where I've asked them to directly answer some questions. So they said, we understand the questions of high importance are whether the forest limited partnership must distribute rentals on a current year basis. So that basically means we have limited partners such as the iwi, and you have general partners who control it, which there's actually only 2 people on that board. and whether or not the iwi can actually ask for their rentals, the answer is, as you can see, no. Whether the partner can actually demand that their forest limited, that the limited partnership distributes that partner's rentals to it. So say they decide they don't want to give it, and we sort of ask, well, can you please give it to us? Again, the answer is no. And then whether a limited partner which disagrees with investment decisions or distribution policy from the limited partnership, so basically if you don't like the way it's being run or the decisions they're making, whether you can require that partnership to actually give you your share of rentals in forests so that you can actually exit. And unfortunately the answer is no. So by signing the settlement, it almost locked Ngāti Pawa into this arrangement. And this is one of the key reasons why the Ngāti Pawa Iwi Trust, again, does not agree with the way that the settlement is being structured. And similar to my video on the Marutūāhu settlement, if you scroll all the way down to the bottom of this very long document, you'll see in the appendix, again, that we've said that it should not be noted that, following the Baro Finlay report, the Ngāti Pawa Iwi Trust has asked the Crown to separate its portion of forest lands and rentals into a separate structure. So this is really just ensuring that Ngāti Pawa has control of its own settlement and not a couple of general partners who have control over the whole vehicle. We don't believe that's fair, and Ngāti Pawa should have its own tino rangatiratanga across its own assets. So hopefully that was informative. It's one of the reasons we're asking the iwi to support us for mandate. And yeah, feel free to come and ask questions at the upcoming hui. Kia ora.